Reading is a very important skill for any child to have, but when we're talking about autism, is it possible to teach an autistic child with a speech delay how to read? In today's video, I would like to share with you some tips and ideas that I personally used when I taught my sons how to read despite their speech delay. But before I do that, please click on subscribe as well as a little bell to receive notifications every time I post a new video. Well, hi, welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Borde. I am an author, motivational speaker, an autism mom of 3. This channel is all about sharing with you tips and strategies so you can help your child reach their full potential. Even though this video will focus on autistic children with a speech delay, these tips can also be put into practice with your child who might be nonverbal. And why do I say this? Because one of my sons didn't speak until he was 7 or 8 years old, and that did not stop us from reading to him every day and helping him to pronounce words. The number one thing I did was to ensure my sons were surrounded by books, so I purchased from second-hand stores a whole bunch of books at very reasonable prices, and specifically books that I found would be of their interest. If they have a favorite cartoon or TV character, I will look for books that feature them so really could become a fun learning experience. For example, one of my sons when he was younger loved everything about Pokemon, so we bought a whole bunch of booklets featuring these characters and information about them. In the beginning, my son was only interested in looking at the pictures, but with time his interest grew and he wanted to read the words as well. Depending on your child, in the beginning you might want to start using simple flashcards that you can print via online websites. Just make sure these flashcards can also have a picture printed on it so your child can make a connection between the word and the picture. When you start, you will find yourself being the one reading the book to your child, and this is perhaps the most important part of teaching your child how to read. Make it a routine. If your child can stay with you while you read for just 5 minutes, appreciate it and try again the next day. One thing I realized early is that 1, consistency is key, so don't give up. And 2, that it is okay to push your child out of the comfort zone for a little bit without making the experience sour and difficult. Now, when reading to your child, make sure to use your finger to point out the words you're pronouncing and encourage your child to repeat after you. What I did in the beginning was to focus on very simple books with very basic vocabulary, meaning words that I knew my children could potentially pronounce after lots of practice. We will focus on a specific and short paragraph at a time that we will read every single day before we move on to the rest of the story. I will encourage them to repeat short sentences even if the words were not clear. With repetition, time and a lot of practice, they started reading basic words and then longer sentences. I realized that the more I asked them to repeat a word or a sentence, the pronunciation improved significantly. We also use Startfolk, which is a website with tons of interactive books to read, and even though they do have a paid version, you will find several books to read for free. This is not a sponsored video, by the way, but this site really helped my sons. As time passed, my kids grew in confidence with regards to reading, and even though they struggled with the correct pronunciation, they were able to start reading on their own. The most important tip I can give you is to focus less on getting them to pronounce the words perfectly, but rather help them to foster a love for reading, because it's through this method they will feel encouraged and confident enough to continue practicing. Remember that our children learn through our examples, so if they see us reading books, they will most likely shift towards those same interests. If you're not into reading, just make a little effort so that your child can see you doing it every day. It doesn't have to be a fancy and long novel. It can be something as simple as a sport magazine or a cookbook. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that your child can emulate your example. I am sure you have some tips you would like to share with other parents, so please don't be shy and leave a comment in the section below.